Stop making music biopics because we got the greatest one of all time with Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. The king has returned to the hearts and minds of Americans. Hey, I know what you'll say, and the world. He never left. Well, let's talk about that more on my review of Elvis, the Baz Luhrmann spectacular that just came out in theaters. Have you seen it? I'd love to join in the conversation. Comment below. Did you like this film? And maybe let me know, what are some of your favorite Elvis songs? We're going to go into that in a minute. So yes, Elvis Presley, huge growing up for me. Not just the music, but I'm a kid from the 80s. So, Full House brings it home with Uncle Jesse's love of the king himself. You've got one of the greatest screen performances ever by any actor, period. That is the Bruce Campbell playing Elvis and Bubba Hotep. You have Leaving Las Vegas. You've got the Elvis parachute scenes. Elvis is in pop culture. And did they do this justice? Oh my gosh, they did it justice and then some. So I do want to apologize for some of the people that are watching this video. When we did our trailer reaction video for Elvis Trailer 2, I may have mentioned that Elvis maybe stole some music from certainly the African American community. That is incorrect. I didn't believe it then. I certainly don't believe it after watching this film. I believe that he was truly inspired by the music he heard as a kid. Gospel music, R&B, is probably, that and country music is my two favorite genres. I was inspired by this film to jump back into the music that I loved as a kid. So when Elvis reached a certain age, he wanted to reconnect with his childhood. He wanted to reconnect with the moments that he fell in love with music. Because if you're going all the time, and you're the king of rock and roll, and everyone is adoring you all over the place, and there's all this noise, sometimes it's just a much needed rest to try to reconnect, to quiet it all down, to take it back where it came from. And that's what this movie did. So let's talk about it real quick. So the movie starts out with a voiceover from Colonel Tom Parker himself, played by the amazing, as always, Tom Hanks. I mean, I actually never wanted to hate Tom Hanks in a movie ever. I hated Colonel Parker by the first 2 seconds of this film, but I certainly hated him a lot by the end. And I think you will too. So the movie is from his point of view, which I didn't know going in, which was kind of a cool surprise, and a narrative structure you don't see in most music biopics at all, which is refreshing. That's one of the reasons it worked so well. Baz Luhrmann also has that really energetic style behind the camera. His cinematography, his colors, his costumes all pop in a vibrant way. So even under that lens in the 30s and the 40s and the Great Depression, and this sort of dirt poor farm lifestyle that Elvis came from, you actually he made it almost come alive, like you were almost there. So Elvis, as a young child, his dad was incarcerated, so that kind of molded him. So when you're a young kid, any sort of event like that sticks with you in your mind, in your heart, and your psyche. And Elvis always had that. And then his mom unfortunately passed away at the age of 23, so that was another person that sort of left him. So the whole movie, you're wrestling with the fact that why in the world did Elvis Presley stay so long with Colonel Tom Parker? Elvis was a very smart guy, right? He was. Sometimes he's portrayed, especially if you watch his films, as like the lovable goof, but he was an incredibly intelligent man, especially when it came to making music. Why in the world did he not see the charade? And when I watched the movie, this is a question I had before. When I watched the movie, it's sort of clear because they really drive home the fact that his dad went to jail. He wanted to bring his family up from poverty. His mom passed away at an unfortunate young age when he was 23. So he needed someone to sort of lean on. And Tom Parker, being the snake that he is, most of the time when someone's going to take advantage of someone, they can see a weakness in them, right? And they exploit that for themselves. So he could see how lost Elvis was, and sort of how certainly talented he was, but he could see that how easily he can sort of manipulate the situation. He's the snow job, right? The whole idea is he's a con man, and Elvis. So that part was actually really cool too. So again, if you've seen the movie, I'm sorry, I meant to mention earlier, but I'm just so passionate about spoilers, okay? So there's gonna be spoilers in this whole video. But if you've seen the video, seen the movie, Colonel Tom Parker is a sideshow shuckster, heister, just like a charlatan, right? So he sees Elvis as the ultimate sideshow attraction. So he could go in, make people feel something emotionally, and while they were crying or weeping or, excited, he reaches into their back pocket, steals all their money, and they go on to the next town, which is something I never would have thought about with Elvis Presley connected. That part was cool. So it goes through his life. Sort of chapter by chapter, we see the pivotal roles. We see all the stuff that we know is fans, the comeback special, the live telecast from Hawaii, right? All over the world, 1 billion people watch that thing. And then sort of the movie kind of almost comes to a complete stop. So in the first, I would say, first half of the film, the energy and the filmmaking, the specific cuts, the transitions, all those were very interesting and unique, and it kept you really entertained. It kept you engaged. And then when it really starts to slow down, the movie makes you feel Elvis's melancholy. So I didn't expect there to be that level of sadness at the end. I'm not hating it. Some people, I saw it with a few different people, and we had some mixed reactions in the theater. But yeah, it was effective in making me feel how Elvis must have felt, like just tired out. By the end of it, you're kind of tired out, but then they bring it on home with a live footage from Elvis. So Austin Butler is going to win awards for this. I'm going to tell you right now, you heard it here on Cloudy Sky Entertainment first. He will win several awards for his portrayal of Elvis Presley when he's on screen the whole time. I believed he was Elvis. So it was a little bit of a jarring moment when the real footage of Elvis hits at the end, because you're like, oh, no, that's Elvis, because you've lived with Austin Butler's Elvis the entire time, and he immediately makes you believe that he is Elvis. From the singing, the looks, the acting, changing his voice from a young Elvis to an older Elvis, phenomenal. And the special effects in this film, I mentioned the costumes earlier, but the prosthetic makeup on Tom Hanks and his commitment to that very odd accent was also fantastic. It was so weird, just weird enough that when you're talking, I'm like, did any human being really sound like this? It was so fantastic. It was so good, but he was so committed to it. He'll probably win Best Supporting, but Austin Butler's career is going to skyrocket here, y'all. I could watch this several times over and miss certain things and catch new nuances in his character and his portrayal of performance. It's not a caricature. I think the only other time I really felt this in a biopic was when I was watching Ray. So Ray is probably my second favorite musical biopic. I know a lot of people like Bohemian Rhapsody. I enjoyed it too, but there was something not like a little disgenuine to Bohemian Rhapsody. I couldn't put my finger on it. But Jamie Foxx was Ray. Jamie Foxx became Ray Charles, and Austin Butler becomes Elvis. And that's the best part of a biopic, is when you're in it for 100%. I liked the fact that it mentioned that Elvis Presley loved freaking comic books. He wanted to be a superhero. It's me as a geek. Look at all this stuff around you. So that made me love the man even more. Captain Marvel Jr., not Shazam, because this is before the whole war between DC Comics and Marvel. Captain Marvel Jr. was his favorite superhero, which is totally awesome. I didn't know that about the King. It was cool to see the fact how Elvis was friends with B.B. King, and he was inspired by Little Richard. Little Richard was inspired by him, and all of the artists that were some of the greatest talent ever, the greatest singers of all time, unfortunately, were categorized in a certain type of music that white America deemed unsafe for television and unsafe for radio. And it's one of the greatest injustices ever, because Elvis himself said that he didn't like to be called the king of rock and roll because that title didn't belong to him. He did not invent rock and roll. He certainly wasn't the king of it. These great African-American artists that were never given the chance to shine, they are the kings and queens of rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a fact, bar none. So having that representation on the screen in Baz Luhrmann's film, and with everything else was great. And the guy that was young B.B. King and Little Richard and even the lady that was Priscilla, everyone was cast so perfectly. The soundtrack, when Baz Luhrmann does his films, he mixes in modern music to kind of bring home certain narrative points and drive the whole story along. He did that very sparingly in this film, but when he did, it worked. It wasn't jarring, or it didn't really take me out. I was worried that some modern song would take me out of the film. It didn't. It didn't. I loved every bit of it. But that's sort of my opinion. I really want to know what your opinion is. So here at Cloudy Sky Entertainment, we love to talk movies, TV shows, everything. And we can't do that if it's just us talking straight to the screen. So we want you to comment below. Like I said at the beginning of the video, what did you think of the film? What is your favorite Elvis song? Did you hate the biopic completely and have another favorite? We want to know. So comment below. And as always, if you're liking this content, if you're liking the videos we're doing, that's awesome, because we love doing them, guys. We love making these videos. We all live in a stressful world. This is some of the things we do that just gives us so much passion, so much energy. And if you're liking that, if you're picking up what we're laying down, please, like the video and subscribe. We've got a really cool giveaway coming at 500 subscribers, which is real close. So if you do all those things, you're entered into the contest. But my name is Noah Drake Bell. You're watching Cloudy Sky Entertainment, and you know what? Just stay classy.
Are you still